Good morning. Good morning. How is everybody this Wednesday morning, March the 26th? I am Belinda Harris, and I am a HR disruptor. And every Wednesday at 6:30 a.m., I go live on YouTube. I'm going live on TikTok to talk about self-care at work. Why so early in the morning? You may say, why 6:30 in the morning, Belinda, do you go live? Because I'm trying to catch people before they get to work so that when they get to work, they'll already know what to do to embrace or enhance self-care at work. Now, a lot of times, we do practice self-care. We have morning routines that we do. Some people journal, some people ground, some people meditate, some people exercise. There are a lot of things that people do in the morning as part of their morning routine. But rarely do people, when they get to work, do they practice any type of self-care. A lot of us kind of get to work, put our heads down, and just work the whole time. Um, a lot of us, that's what we do. But what we need to start incorporating into our workday, what we need to start incorporating into our workday is self-care. All of us need to start doing that at work, doing some type of self-care. And so today I'm going to talk about 5 things that you can do at work in 5 minutes or less. Because um when you do these 5 things, it helps you reset, recharge, and claim your peace during your workday. Because let's be honest here, like most of us do not have the luxury of long breaks or spa days or midday naps, right? When we think of self care. But that doesn't mean that we don't need self care at work. We just need to learn how to care for ourselves in the moment. So that is why I'm going to talk about 5 things that you can do at work in 5 minutes or less, whether you're in the office, in the break room, or even in your car. There are 5 things. There's more than that, but I'm going to talk about 5 things that you can do for self care at work. And the very first thing that you can do is mindful breathing. That doesn't cost anything. You don't need any equipment for that. You can sit, you can stand. But mindful breathing is basically taking in the breath, you hold it, and then you exhale slowly. You can do it. I do the 4-4-4 system where you inhale for 4, you hold for 4, you exhale for 4, and you do it 4 times. That's what I do for my mindful breathing. Now, some people may say, okay, I get it. What does mindful breathing do? It resets your nervous system and it signals to your brain that it is safe to calm down. And at work, things can get stressful. We got those coworkers, we got those supervisors, we got those deadlines that seems like the date keeps getting moved closer and closer. You know, Work is stressful. Hopefully, it's not stressful every day, but work is stressful. One thing that you can do, mindful breathing, because again, it resets your nervous system and it signals to the brain that it's safe to calm down. That is one thing that you can do in the moment as part of your self care at work. The other thing that you can do is gratitude shift. Now, sometimes that's hard too, but you grab a sticky note or a journal, and you write down 3 things that you're grateful for about your job, not in life in general, your job. 3 things that you're grateful for about your job. And there are days where it's rough. It's rough for me sometimes, but maybe I'll say, I'm grateful that I have a coworker who makes me laugh. I'm grateful that I have income, because as we look around the news, a lot of people are losing their jobs in droves. So if you still have your job, whether you like your job or love your job or not, if you still have your job, that's one thing to be grateful for because it gives you income. The third thing sometimes is like, maybe it's because I had a nice hot cup of coffee. Sometimes that's the only thing I can think about to be grateful for at work, that I have a coworker that made me laugh, that the fact that I have income and can pay my bills. And I'm thinking, okay, what's the one other thing? Oh, I had a hot cup of coffee. When you do gratitude, it's a mind shift. It trains your brain to look for something that's working, look for something that's good. And when you're at work and you have all these things, all this stress coming in, to find something, to look for something that's good, that's working, helps us take care of ourselves. So it is part of self-care. It's part of self-care to do a gratitude, a mindful shift. So that's the second thing that you can do. The third thing that you can do as part of self-care at work is do a desk stretch or a move break. And what is that? So a move break is that you stand up, you maybe walk to the cooler or walk outside, maybe you walk down the hallway, maybe you walk to the bathroom, but you're getting up and you're moving. What is a desk stretch? Is where you stretch your arms over your head, roll your shoulders back, right? It gives you a stretch because sitting all day at a desk drains your energy. You may think it doesn't, but if you just sat at your desk all day long, you feel drained. You feel just as drained sometimes as somebody who's working standing up all day. But a quick stretch or a walk gives your body a second wind and your brain a fresh start. So the third thing that you can do, the third movement thing that you can do at work, is a desk stretch or move break. The fourth thing, and these are self-care at work moments or things that you can do in 5 minutes or less. And I've already named 3 things. The fourth thing is water plus an intentional pause. So what is that? Water. You drink a glass of water slowly. Not like you're racing, not like, let me get to the bottom of my cup before my neighbor. No, you drink it slowly. And then when you take a sip, right? When you're sipping, when you take a sip, you take a moment to pause. No phone, no work, just breathe and sip. A lot of times, some of us drink water and steady looking at our phone all at the same time. No, that is not water plus intentional pause. For your self-care, in a 5 thing that you do 5 minutes or less is water plus an intentional pause. It is a reset moment where hydration plus presence equals energy boost plus clarity. So drinking water slowly, not gulping it down, is not a race on how fast I can get to the bottom. Drinking it slowly and taking an intentional pause, right? You're not picking up your phone. You're not looking at work. You're just drinking water and you're just breathing. Is a reset moment because it hydrates you. And then you're aware your presence, which equals an energy boost and clarity. And then the 5th thing that you can do as it relates to self-care at work, right? Self-care at work is an encouragement note. And what is that? You write a quick message of encouragement to yourself. Maybe it says, you're doing better than you think. Maybe your note says, one task at a time. Maybe your note says, you are not your to-do list. You can leave it on your desk. You can, the sticky note, you can leave it on your desk. You can put it on your phone where it's on the screen, or you can put it on your computer for desktop, for something to look at, an encouragement note. You see, self-care doesn't have to have fancy equipment. It just has to be intentional. And it's easy to say, well, yeah, when you think of self-care, spa day or this or that, or these long procedures. Because when we think of self-care, we think of this long thing, a massage, which is, 30 minutes. You think of these long time to read a book, which all these are self-care. But you think, what can I do? Because I don't have that kind of time, Belinda. I only have maybe 5 minutes at a time. That's why I came up with this, what you can do. And that is mindful breathing. No equipment needed. Just you. No equipment. Where you do a mindful breath. I do the 4-4-4-4, which again is you inhale inhale for 4, you hold it for 4, you exhale for 4, and you do it 4 times. That's what I do. There's a million mindful breathing techniques that you can do, but that is the one I do. It helps reset my nervous system, which calms me down, which is part of my self-care. There's the gratitude shift where you think about, instead of thinking how horrible work is and how you hate all these people, what do you like about your job, right? What's 3 things that you can say, I'm grateful for this job? I'm grateful for a coworker. Now, you may only like one and the rest of the 8 you can't stand, but that one, you're grateful that you have at least that one person. You're grateful for, I'm getting an income. Now, I may not be making the money I should be making or my worth, because rarely any of us are, but you have income coming in, especially when so many people, thousands every day, who've been at their job for 5, 10, 30 years, one person got let go, especially that you have income. And the third thing, sometimes it's, for me, sometimes I'm just like, because I have a hot cup of coffee. Those are 3 things that I am grateful for about my job today at this moment. What are 3 things? That's what you do. That's one thing that you can do. The other thing is you do a stretch. You can do a desk stretch. You can do a desk stretch or a walk or movement where you get up from your desk, you walk down the hall, maybe get some water, get another cup of coffee, or step outside. I call it get your nature break, where you stand outside, let some sun get in your eyes. I do those all the time, but you get up from your desk and it helps kind of refocus and reshift. Because sometimes staying there in that moment at work, at your desk, can be too much. But if I can get up and go outside, let some sun, just take in some air, when I get back to my desk, I feel a lot better. The other thing that you can do is a water plus pause. Not just water and not just a pause, but water plus a pause. So that when you're drinking your water, you're drinking it slowly. So you're drinking your water slowly with intentions to just pause. Don't pick up your phone and see, what did I miss on social media? Or let me look at my emails while I'm drinking this water. Let me hurry up and drink this. No, you drink it slowly and you pause. You just drink it slowly and pause. And then the 5th thing that you can do is to write yourself an encouragement note. Again, the note can say things like, you're doing better than you think, or you're doing the best you can. It can say, one task at a time. When you have a lot of stuff that you have to do and a lot of things coming at you, sometimes you feel overwhelmed. The note is a reminder. You do one task at a time. We're not octopus, where we got 8 hands and arms and legs and hands, or you can do all these multiple things. We can do one task at a time, which is what we're supposed to be doing anyway, because they say multitasking is not healthy for us. So it's a reminder, it's a message, one task at a time. And then, or you can say something like, you are not your to-do list. These are encouragement notes to yourself. And you leave it on your desk. You can leave it on your phone. You can leave it on your screen, as a reminder. Because you want to be your biggest cheerleader. You want to be your biggest cheerleader. If you're not cheering for yourself, who is? Right? Nobody's going to cheer for you like you would cheer for yourself. So you leave that on there to give yourself encouragement, to give yourself Just a reminder. And sometimes to get through the moment, a lot of times, and I'll say this for myself. When I'm trying to eat right, when I'm trying to eat right on a special diet, I try to go one meal at a time. One meal at a time. Because if I start thinking about the whole week or the whole month, I get overwhelmed. But if I can get through that to that meal, eat correctly, and then when we get to the next meal, we'll cross that bridge. So it's one thing at a time, because we can get overwhelmed when you look down the road and be like, it never ends. Kind of like at a cashier at a grocery store. Nowadays they got so many self-checkout, checking yourself out, but they'll have one cashier or two, and they're ringing people out. Can you imagine every time they look up, they got angry faces staring back at them like, what's taking so long? But they can only ring out one customer at a time. It's the same thing at our jobs. We can only do one thing at a time. And sometimes we need to remind ourselves that I can't fix everything. I can't do everything. I can do this one task right now. And I'm going to do it to the best that I can. And to do the best that you can, you need to be your best self. And how do you do that? How do you be your best self at work? Is that you are practicing self-care at work. You are worth it every time. Every Wednesday at 6:30 in the morning, I go live on YouTube. I go live on TikTok to talk about self-care at work. I talk about this because I try to help people not to be burnt out, because I was burnt out and I own my own company and I was burnt out at work. It was just too much. It felt like it was just never ending before I started practicing self-care at work. And it has changed my entire life, right? Because not only am I doing self-care at home, but I'm also doing self-care at work. And these things that I talk about today are called micro moments. Micro. These little things, and they add up. They add up. Mindful breathing, gratitude shift, do a stretch or a walk, water plus a pause, encouragement note. Those things add up. Those things are self-care. Again, I want to thank you all. The other thing too, the last thing before I go, is that being in human resources, which is what I'm in, which is what I do, I hear complaints, right? I hear complaints. And the complaints would wear me down eventually. But it was, what can I do to help the person complaining as well? Because I can see that they're going through something or feeling some kind of way, which is again how I came up with sharing about my self-care. Because when I started practicing for myself at first, and then I started sharing those techniques with other people, because I could see how it would help them. Work is stressful. Work is many times not fun. What can you do to make sure you show up for your best self, not just for work? And a lot of people say, well, you're in human resources, you're looking out for the company. That's not really how it works, but I'm not going to explain human resource or role. The purpose of self-care at work is not just so you can be more productive at work. It is so that you can be your best self everywhere. But because most of us spend our majority of our waking up hours at work, we rarely practice self-care at work, which is why I talk about it. So practicing these self-care at work, yes, it makes you more productive at work. Absolutely does. But it also makes you better when you get home too, because you're not overly stressed. So you come home, you're not so grouchy or so exhausted that you can't do anything else. That's why we practice self-care, is giving to yourself. Giving to yourself. And that is what self-care is the best form of self-love. Every Wednesday, 6:30 in the morning, I go live. YouTube, TikTok. I want to thank you all for coming. I hope to see you next week.